Hi, everybody. I'm Steve White, and I am the co-chair of Rutherford's Civil Rights Commission. And with me today is Rutherford resident Jasmyne Mena. Jasmyne recently organized the Black Lives Matter March in Rutherford. And Jasmyne, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for asking me.
So first up, I think we all know why that march was held. But what was your driving factor for organizing it?
So I live in Philadelphia full time right now, but my parents and so many of my friends still live in Rutherford. And I was heading back to Rutherford to stay for a few weeks just because I live alone in Philly and just wanted to be with my family. And it's weird because I was at the Black Lives Matter March in Philly, and there's not one person there that you have to worry about having opposing thoughts than you. And there's no anti-protesters really. The mass majority is all standing for the same thing. And when I was coming back to Rutherford, it didn't really sit well with me that I was just going to sit there and not do anything, or that my town was going to sit by and do anything. So I was like, you know what, if I can't go to New York to protest or anything like that, just out of the safety of my family and stuff, then why not just make the march in town? And I texted a few of my friends and I was like, is this crazy? And they were all like, maybe, but do it anyway. So I think the driving factor for me was just, yeah, I know Rutherford has been quiet for a while about a lot of things. I've witnessed racism. I've been on the other end of it. So yeah, I thought it was a good time for everyone to step up.
Well, as a woman of color, when was I just really the first time that you realized that racism was a thing, either in the community or America?
I remember being younger in class, and one of my best friends, her name's Victoria, she's also Hispanic, and our teachers would confuse us all the time, and we don't look alike really, besides our dark hair and olive complexion. And I remember being in class and there's a bunch of people with similar names like Katie, Kelly, stuff like that. But it would always be me and Victoria getting our names confused, who was who. It was a huge thing all the time. And I was so confused for a while. And it wasn't until a few years later that we were like, oh, it's because we just look like Spanish girls. That's what it is. And I know just my family, both of my parents are immigrants and have pretty thick accents. I used to be really nervous to have them go to school meetings or anything like that, because I was just embarrassed of who I was. Everybody around me, their parents were really white, and there was no accents, and even if there was an Irish accent or an Italian accent, that was quirky and cool. But because my parents had Spanish accents, it was something that it was really heavy on me, and it took me a long time to get past that. But I think just those micro moments that I look back on and I was like, oh, I didn't know what was happening in the moment, but looking back, I'm like, that was all planted in my head, just ignorance of being a little kid and stuff like that. But those are probably all my first encounters, just in school, in Rutherford schools. So
Did you face any obstacles when organizing this march?
um honestly, the biggest obstacle was the fear that came from me. I was just, I was scared of the backlash that I hadn't even gotten yet before I planned it. For a few hours before I decided to make the Facebook page, I was just so scared. I was just like, people are gonna come for me, they're gonna target me. Um, and then I just thought about it some more, and I was like, you know what, that makes it all the more worth it. But honestly, I have to say this wasn't the hardest thing I've done by far. I had a lot of people backing me and just their support. And then once the town was involved, it almost was just like streamlined everything. But yeah, probably just the fear of it all before it even happened was the biggest obstacle.
What do you think that your next steps are, and the next steps for the overall movement?
I don't know what the next steps are for me. I was actually furloughed like 2 months ago, so I've been dealing with that. I didn't realize how important it was to me to have a job that has influence and like makes a hard stand on stuff like this and doesn't put up with anything of that sort. Um, but as a whole, I think just hiring more people of color and Black people and Indigenous people and LGBTQ people in different workplaces, and not having it be a thing where like they're the center of the conversation or like things are pointed out about them that are different, just like having a seat at the table for them and listening to their opinion and treating them like everyone else. That's all people want. And I don't think that's a big ask. And I've seen a lot of companies come forward about situations that have gone unnoticed or like unattended to relating to things like that. So I really just think it's about enforcing all of that in all channels of everybody's life and even in your regular life, just making space for the Black community. It's something that we've been missing out on and turning a blind eye to for a long time. So I think it's just finally time to like be aware of it and implement it.
That's great. Well, on behalf of the Civil Rights Commission, I thank you for your courage for organizing that march, because I think it was really necessary for a town like ours. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I think so too.